Well, welcome to the Colonial Theatre. My name is Bill Munn. We're going to do a historic tour of the Colonial. We're in the old lobby, which basically is the way it was in 1903. The only difference is the lights up here, which were from the 1920s. It took 5.5 months to build this theater. They opened at September 28th. In 1903 with the production of Robin Hood. All the great performers of the 1900s, the early 1900s were here. The Barrymores, John and Ethel, John Drew, Will Rogers, Al Jolson, John Philip Sousa was here. And they also had horses on the stage galloping. We fight as to how they did it, but we think they did it with treadmills. So it remained as a legitimate theater until about 1935 when it was converted to movies. In 1910, General Electric wanted to get into the theater business, and so they made this board for the Colonial Theatre. This has all been refurbished. Every theater had a theater electrician who would read the script, and then he would throw all the switches and so forth according to the script if he wasn't drinking wine too much. So this is the garage area. By purchasing this building, it gave us a lot of room. And this was actually the entrance to the garage over here. You would drive in with your car, and they would ask you what you wanted done. And then they would take the car back and service it there. When they uncovered the windows here, the original signs from 1921 were here, the Berkshire Auto Company. This was the showroom right in here. We're working our way backstage. Another critic. So this is our backstage area, our combination storage room, green room, you name it. It's all in this one space. It's quite a large space. Green rooms are never green. We have 4 dressing rooms. So this is a chorus dressing room. There's 2 of these. Supposedly it takes about 10 years off your face when you look in the mirrors, but doesn't do a thing for me. We have our washers, dryers, ironing boards, everything you would need in the backspace of a theater. So they can come in here and do repairs on costumes, hang their costumes up and redo them. And a lot of people, when they go to the theater, they don't think of all this stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So this is the stage area that we're going into next. This stage house was done completely over in the 2004-2006 restoration. It cost $21 million to do this theater over. Originally, to build the whole theater in 1903 was $70,000. In the house, we've gone back to the original colors. When they painted the walls in 1903, the local newspapers said that you would have to wear automobile goggles when you came down here because the colors were so bright that they would give you a headache. We haven't had any complaints yet, so I don't know. The lighting is different, but other than that, basically the theater is back to the way it was. And it said here, this theater, the acoustics are so good, it's one of the 10 best in the world. That's what they say. George M. Cohan loved it here at the Colonial, that he could whisper on stage and they could hear it in the last row. Originally, there was no square corners, so there was no way that anything could get trapped. It was rounded everywhere, so everything would come in and just roll around. Originally, the house could hold 1,158 people. Today, we're just under 800. Over here, again, this is a brand new stage house put into an old building, and so we have all the new cables and ropes that we need here. And it's quite a system. Before that, we had a bridge that was up here, and they would tie, they had boxes of sand, and they would fill bags with sand, and they would counteract the scenery that way. When we first came in, everything was still up there, including all the wine bottles that they used to drink. The stage goes back about 34 feet. It's about 32 feet across and 30 feet high. In the gallery, we have the original bench seats. This was called a family circle back in 1903. So if you had screaming kids and so forth, you would take them up there. That's basically it for the Colonial. So this wraps up our tour. So thank you for coming along. And I do hope you enjoyed the tour.